Hey legends, welcome back to the Mason Cox Show. Plenty going on in the footy world. We've got a big question mark around a head knock over the weekend. We've got West Coast wins in a thriller, an absolute thriller, and one of the greats of all time in the football world calls it a day. There's plenty on this episode, so listen in and let's get to it. All right, let's get into it. Welcome, Brayden.
Oh, g'day, Mason. We can't take one more step without saying a massive congratulations to the career of arguably the GOAT of the AFL, Lance Buddy Franklin.
Yes.
Calling time. What a massive career it was.
It is insane. Like, to run through some of his stats, fourth leading goal kicker in AFL VFL history, over 1,000 goals. We know, everyone knows he kicked his 1,000th goal recently, and a crazy experience. Probably the last time you'll ever see a field stormed. Insane experience. He's pick 5, 2004 draft. I don't know who was pick 1, 2, 3, and 4, but geez, they're probably regretting that.
Richard Tampling was up there. That's pretty rough. No offense, Richard Tampling.
Braden goes whack. He's appeared in many grand finals. I think 5 overall. He's won 2 flags in 2008 and 2013. 10 years in Sydney, one of the trailblazers up there for the Sydney Football Club. He's won 8 All-Australians. He is an absolute freak of nature on the football field, an incredible human off it. A man that we have an amazing amount of respect for. Just a beautiful human, someone who's been able to represent not only himself but the IFL with such dignity, and something we have a lot of time for.
Now, I want to ask, what's your favorite Buddy Franklin moment? If you've had a personal one, I want to get down into that. Mine, running through the leapfrog. He does the hurdle. I think it was against Collingwood. He gets it, hurdles through the middle of the ground, kicks it from like 80 meters out. Oh, he can do the impossible. Obviously, the Cale Hooker one's running down the boundary. I don't want to steal yours.
Yeah, well, the Cale Hooker one running down the boundary is funny because he has the guts and the balls. He could have easily gone inside and, like, you got a better angle out. He goes, nah, your boy's going to kick it from the pocket.
And it goes through on the full.
It's wild. It's just the confidence of the man was just insane after running like a 70 to 100 meter run. And then he could have, probably gone another 10 meters and just lined it up a bit straight. And he decided, nah, I think I'm good from the corner here. I'm going to make it look spectacular.
He did. He liked playing against Essendon. He also liked kicking great goals against Collingwood. He kicked one on Chris Tarrant in the prelim, almost put him through. Dribbler from the boundary, running flat out. It's just crazy. 13 down in Tassie.
Yeah.
Best thing that's ever happened to Tassie, I reckon.
Oh, careful, Brayden. We do love Tassie, everyone.
He's a freak.
He is one of those people I feel like, there's those, I don't know, people that transcend the sport, obviously, but his body and his make and the way he played and everything was just built for IFL.
You can't do what he did. 6'6" or whatever. He's 100 and whatever kilos.
The speed on him was ridiculous.
It's actually going to be, I don't think it's hit yet, that it's going to be sad that he's just not there.
Yeah, it's going to be weird. It's going to be like a hole in the IFL that just exists for a while.
But as happens in the AFL, someone will come along and fill that hole, and there's always the next person up.
No one will ever do as good as Buddy. I think.
Do you think it's got to be the last time we see 1,000 goals?
For sure.
And it's probably the last time we'll ever see 100 goals unless something pretty drastic happens. You got to pull your finger out, mate.
Yeah, I don't know. It might be like a 10-6-2 roll or something like that. Besides the 6-6-6. I'm not really sure. I mean, I think it's never going to happen again, the 100 goals. And he was probably, in that era of transitioning from 10 goals in a game and being able to get that when being able to kick absolute bags every single week. There's just the ability to do that's just not there anymore. Like, I don't think he'll ever be able to be accomplished again.
I could kick the match winner against Adelaide in that big final. I think if Charlie Curnow could somehow work the fixture so he versed West Coast about 6 or 7 times in a year, I reckon he could get there.
Time will tell. We'll move into the next chunk. We've got Clanger of the Week. What do you got for the Clanger?
This is a bit of a surprise and delight. Have you heard of that saying? A bit of a surprise and delight. Now, the AFL, they like to not tell anyone that they're going to do something and then they just surprise, dissent rules back, and we're going to start paying 50s and free kicks all over the place, because maybe tell someone. Maybe Friday night, they're like, oh, we could tell them going into the game, or we could just keep it a secret and it's a little surprise and delight for the teams playing tonight. And then hopefully the rest of the teams watch that game and then they'll figure it out off that. But, inconsistencies through everything. You don't know which games are going to do what. You don't know. So
descent's back.
Descent's back.
Okay.
But for this week, maybe for one game, it's just, I don't know why that one was so bizarre to me, and I don't want to bring it up, but you gave away your patented free kick and defensive 50.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm like, this is on. Yeah, it's a given that this is going to be 50. And I think Braden Maynard came over and just, who's frappa?
Who's frappa?
Just do a bit of the calm down, the breathing, and you just, you brought it back in. But some of, your opposition and teammates couldn't reel it back in. I think it was like Nathan Murphy or something, where they were like, the umpire on the mic was like, careful. 50. I was like, careful what, bro? I don't know what you're talking about, because we haven't had the conversation about the descent rule behind the closed doors. We don't know what's coming, but that's my clanger. Give us a heads up. Tell them they might have sent an email through, might have gone to junk. So check for the descent rule email, because it might have come through. I don't know.
My clanger, after the game, you can imagine, and I think it was picked up, I wasn't probably in the best of moods.
You?
Me. Wouldn't believe it. I wasn't having the greatest day of my life. And I went to dinner with some friends after, and just to, sometimes whenever you're having a tough day, it's nice just to get with people that just don't really know anything about AFL, and just have a chat about life and what's going on. And it was tough to get away from it, because next to our table was a gentleman, and he had, I assume, been to the footy, right? My friends are wearing a Collingwood scarf, and he decides to come over to the table and give us a huge spiel as to why Collingwood is such a terrible team. And not knowing that I'm sitting there and knowing who I was, he goes on a full 5 to 10 minute rant and blurbs on and on and on. And we're all at this dinner table going, I think he might get killed here. Mason might jump up and end this man's life. And it got to the point where I think I made a comment of saying, sir, you need to move on. And I think at that point, my stern voice probably gave a very clear indication that this was inappropriate. And he ended up leaving the vicinity and leaving the establishment very quickly. And yeah, that was an interesting time of holding back. Sometimes you just have to. Oh, geez.
That's very big. You had a big couple of moments of holding back the emotions. It's a big night. You're evolving as a human. It's great. No dissent towards him?
No dissent at all. None at all. Just I don't know. Maybe the AFL chunk is brushing off on me in my personal life.
That's very good.
Okay, well, we'll get into the games. There's plenty of big games this week, Braden. Plenty of big games. And one of the big ones that no one probably saw coming, Geelong versus Fremantle. Fremantle at GMHBA gets the dub.
It's the upset round, mate. Now, we're going to get into a lot of upsets that happened in this round. Now, I don't know, as a Freo fan, if you're just ecstatic by this win or if you're just confused by what the hell Freo are doing. I feel like there's always a bit of belief going into the Geelong game down at the Cattery. There's been a long going, I guess, little rivalry between Geelong and Freo. I had Geelong penciled in for this top 8 slot, and straight away, this really puts the brakes on that. And especially when you look at the injuries coming out of this game, there was a few of them. Hawkins really pulled up short and came from the field.
Blitzarves was another one. If he's out,
Blitzarves is a huge out.
Out for them.
You're losing a lot of running power, ruck power, leadership.
Yeah.
You're losing a lot with Blitzarves. Obviously, Hawkins is invaluable as well. So yeah, it was a really big loss for Geelong at home. I don't know. I don't think Freo can make it.
I think that they're probably another. I think it's 2.5 games out. I want to say, or something like that.
And so I think if they win every game, they win 12, and you probably need a
few people,
12 and a half, 13 percentage. So I don't think it looks very good for him.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, Chris Scott breaks the longest serving coach in Geelong's history this weekend, which was really cool. Congrats to him. Credit to him at 305 games at the helm. As a head coach, that's very hard to do.
He'd be pumped.
He would have before the game. I can't imagine he would have been in such a great mood after the game. But these things happen. There was a few things that came out of it. Frederick kicks on the run. Corner. Oh, you got mad at me for saying corner, so I'm going to say kicks it from the pocket because there's no corners on a football field.
I like the corner, Chad. Everyone knows what you mean. Yeah. It's just very unique. Now that goal
ridiculous.
It was Gary Ablett Jr.-esque. When he returned, to the Cattery for the first time, playing for the Gold Coast Suns, kicked a goal in the same vein, and it was so good the Geelong fans clapped in.
Yeah. Well, there's 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, so it was a pivotal goal. It wasn't just like, we're casually up by 80. I'm just taking, kicks from the corner for fun.
The game was definitely on the line at that stage, so it added to how good the goal was. It was a great standalone goal, but he's kicking them from there. Poor Jez, our boy Jez. Wowee. 1 goal, 5. And he had one that didn't make the distance. So 1 goal, 5 from 7 shots.
These things happen though. And hey, I also got full faith in the man. I got lots of love for Jez. Lots of love.
Oh, lots of love. That's
we all go through patches.
Oh, that's silver lining. He's having the shots. He's getting the shots.
He's still in front of goal.
If that's any other day, he's converting those. You just keep shoot, Mas. Shoot.
Well, Fremantle snaps the 4-game losing streak at a big win at GMHBA down there in Geelong. And one of the upsets, like we said, of the mini over the weekend, that did happen. We'll move into the next one. Bulldogs versus Giants. Your boys, the Giants, the big sound from the west of the town, still on a roll.
At this stage, are we surprised, mate? Like, they are doing it everywhere. This isn't like a team that's just winning at home and then struggling away. They've beaten Melbourne up in the NT.
Alice, yeah.
They beat Adelaide at Adelaide, who, they just beat Port in Adelaide. So it's a pretty hard deal to go over there and beat Adelaide. They've beaten, now the Bulldogs in Ballarat.
They've won in 9 different locations. That's pretty impressive.
It's still underrated what they're doing. I've been telling them, and it's just like I'm
honing in on this for weeks,
banging their head against a bloody brick wall, Mace, because this team is still underrated. They're going to be a big problem come finals because they can, get an away final. They can get a home final. They could go to Antarctica. They can go to Mars. They're going to get the W, Mace. It's actually insane to see, and it's led from the front. Toby Green. Got to be putting a case up besides your teammate Darcy Moore for All-Australian captain. I would love to see him get it. The bad boy of the AFL. We like to see a bit of attitude.
The AFL allow it? I don't know.
Well, if he doesn't, he can just go in there and karate kick him across the room and, eye gouge him or whatever he's going to do to get himself across the line.
Being up there, captain. Oh, the smirk on his face would be worth $1 million.
Well.
The tables have turned, sir.
It would be great to see now.
He did kick 4 and he kicked 5, I think, during the game.
All second half goals.
Hey, it's all green. All green. There's red, yellow, and green.
I feel like he's just sitting there in the first half and he said, boys, when you need me, give me a call. I'll be out there. Second half came out, kicked 5, won the game. No worries, fellas.
Wild. He kicked 4 and a quarter. And then the 5th goal he kicked in the 4th, and they were down 35 points in the 3rd, and they came back. So it's an impressive win by the Giants, and they go up to the 6th spot while the Bulldogs go back to the 8th spot.
A frustrating loss for the Bulldogs. Even more so, it was a home game. Even more so, the amount of injuries out of this. Now we got to put a prayers up for Josh Bruce. Absolutely devastating. Did his ACL when he was up there in the Coleman.
Yeah.
Then he's, some boys have come in and, filled his spot. So he's gone back. And then he's done his other knee, ACL. He's going to miss another extended period of time. It's just rough. There's nothing.
It's a brutal sport, man.
There's nothing just more soul destroying than seeing someone go down with an ACL at any team. It's like one of those universal things. You never want to see it happen. And Josh Bruce, great guy. He's actually been in the van. So prayers up to him. Hopefully a speedy recovery. Alex Keith.
Yeah, there's some other injuries from this.
He got a concussion, which, we'll talk about this a bit further on, but it's good to see that he got subbed out with that because you got to take care of the players, mate.
And Lob had to go to defense. So they've lost a lot of people in their back line. You got Bruce, Keith, Liam Jones has been out, and Tim O'Brien all unable to play next week. So it is a bit dire in the back line for the Dogs at the moment, but I think they'll throw some stuff around. They'll have to, probably keep Roy Lobb back there. I don't know if things get real desperate, maybe bring Norton back. I'm not really sure.
Send Norton back, Mace.
He's their threat forward too,
Is he? Mace?
Jamara's got to be kicking a bunch if he's going back,
Why do you have Lob? Lob's not going to play back. So you get Lob in as a forward, keep him as a forward. You got Jamara, he's taken over. So I
Jamar
reckon
becomes a target.
keep them up there as your key pillars and send Norton back where he was born and bred, playing footy up through the charts. He was an absolute killer back in defense. My question to you, looking at those outs, do AFL teams need defenders?
Or
can you just play without them?
I think you need defenders, Braden.
So they're in a bit of trouble. They're in a bit of trouble. So I don't like their chances now. How quickly that turns, because it looked like they were just on fire mere weeks ago, and now they're still up there. They're still in there.
They're still in the 8. I think it's just it was a big game over the weekend, and to be up at 3/4 time and then end up losing that one, they'll be regretting that. There's no doubt. All right, let's get into another one. The Q Clash, the Queensland Cup, Suns versus Lions. Once again, another upset, you would say.
Is it?
I told you from the start, my boys, the Suns, they're coming back.
They're making a late push for this 8 slot, mate. It's
big props to the Suns for knocking off Brisbane.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it shook up the top 4, that's for sure. And I have no idea how the top 4 is going to finish. There's obviously a clear gap between the top 4 and the next 4. But there's mini battles within those mini battles. It's absolutely, it's so good to see this year that the ladder's in the shape that it is. A week ago, I was like, that's the 8. And now this week, it's like flipped on its head. I think the craziest thing out of this whole game was Ben King coming out and kicking 5.
Oh my gosh. Hadn't kicked a goal in a month. All of a sudden he goes, boys, I'm back.
And to just go like, okay, I'm back. And it's not against, West Coast like Charlie Curnow. It's against Brisbane Lions in the Q Clash, arguably their biggest game of the year, or one of their 2, because they've come up against them already. But he looked phenomenal. He was just clunking big ones, got out the back a couple of times. It's good to see. I like seeing both King brothers up and about. Obviously, Max not playing at the moment, but
we're still wishing them playing on the same team. Also, what's his name? What's the thing? King of the Castle. King of the Castle.
I was thinking like a royal horn, like a da-da-da-da or something, like put the crown on.
Oh, if you kick 5, you get a special little shout out from us.
Isn't it crazy that like we've had one of those every week?
Yeah.
Like,
someone kicks 5 usually once a week. Or you just get like Tex Walker kicks 5 on a weekly basis.
Oh man, Simmons.
We'll get into that game. But there is the big person that came out, Took Miller. Oh, Took. Told you he's back.
I love this. And I didn't know how savage Took was. Like, he's like a running machine, got an engine for days. We know all of this stuff, but he was having fun drowning Neil. He was like
Brownlow medalist,
just taking him into heavy water, and he was struggling. You could see multiple times Lockie Neal just kind of didn't want to go with him, couldn't go with him. There was, I think, my favorite moment of the whole game. Well, there was probably 2, but my favorite moment was late in the game. Took a mark in front of Neil, turn around, looked at him, smiled in his face, gave him like a little wink like, I've got you.
I've got you.
Turned and hit a 45 to a guy running through the middle of the ground who didn't break stride.
Wow.
And then he kicked it to a guy that kicked a goal, and it was just like, Took's a savage.
I told you, he is savage, man.
It's just crazy.
I was saying, once he comes back, your boys, the Gold Coast Suns, got a chance to make a finals.
And I think that was his second most savage thing, and that was ice cold, but apparently,
number 1, apparently.
Apparently.
Is this the rumor mill?
Apparently. Don't come at me. But he was making fun of Lockie Neal's tattoo. Now,
Really?
I don't, for those who haven't seen this tattoo.
Is this on the Reddit forums you've gone down and figured this out?
They're actually calling it out on radio.
Oh, wow. Huge. Okay.
And
what tattoos are they?
You can't blame him. Now, there's a disclaimer to this because there's a fair chance that it's symbolic in some way.
Yes.
And I almost hope that it is, really. But it's basically like 2 little like swallows dancing in the wind on his arm. He's got them on his bicep.
Oh.
And it's like this real thin line work shading.
You have to be careful with these things because this could have mimic meaning.
It could
It's going to be real mean
It could
if you're making fun of someone for a tattoo that has a certain meaning to them.
And 100%. And if it does, Great,
you're
great
going
tattoo.
to apologize.
If it
yes.
does,
You're going to apologize.
I will apologize along with Took.
Took said we'll do it.
CC me in.
Pod. We'll get an apology together.
CC me in on the email. Happy to you co-sign that. But shocking tattoo. I'm going to have to look this thing up because I got to do some digging, some research on it. But if you went into the tattoo parlor and just said, hey, mate, what do you got for me today? Pick it out off the board. That's the one I want. Whoo!
Took does win the best on ground or the Marcus Ashcroft medal. So congrats to Took. He's absolutely killing it back in the game after his injury, and we love seeing it. But we've got to bring this up. We've got to bring this up because can you smell what the Mac is cooking?
I like this.
This dude, Mac Andrews, puts the WWE SmackDown on Jared Berry.
I was in it. And I saw what was happening in the lead up.
Yep.
And Jared Berry,
what happened?
He's on top of Mac Andrew, full mount spec, UFC, ground and pound style, like buck and bull right on top of him. And, you know, they've kind of fight it out. It goes forward, whatever happens. And then it cuts back to him in the aftermath. So it's like, it's always the retaliator that gets caught. Mac Andrew stands up and he's like, no, this isn't over. Like, and then just slams Berry, and it's like, hell yeah. No. That's what you get. Don't start shit and then just expect to get away with it.
This stuff. He's probably all for it. Or suspended for
Good.
This.
Chip in on that one. I reckon send that around to the Gold Coast boys. Chip in. Send me like a little PayPal code and I'll give you $1 because you're the bloody Berry boys back at it again, the old straw.
Jeez.
Now, he just went full victim mode. I think he might have copped a little poke in the eye. Now, we all know what that's like. But trainer came out with the little eye drops. Mate, you can't turn full victim after being the bully. It's like the bully turned victim. It's like, mate, suck it up. Just suck it up.
I think the thing was they got in a bit of a scuffle, which we love a scuffle.
I love a scuffle.
And then I think it was like, Mac kind of put him in like a headlock into like a body slam. And it was just like the ball was nowhere near him. Like this was a pure like them two just going at it like two bulls. And obviously it gets caught on camera as all these things do. It was quite entertaining to say the least.
And I think the best part that I was sitting there going like, 100% do that. You're up by 1,000,000 points. You've earned the right to give away this free kick. Just give it to him.
Just give it to him.
Stephen King's writing novels and coaching the team in his spare time, and he would be stoked seeing that. I'd be like, you'd give him a pass.
It's giving the Q Clash a bit of biff. We love a bit of biff.
They need a bit of biff, and it was good to see, and it was good to see the Suns win. Obviously, Stuart Dew's over there in England playing with the Australian cricket team, but it's also good to see the Suns get the W, mate.
It is, and we'll move on to the next one: Essendon versus the Swans. And this is a 2-point win for Sydney.
And this was a cracking game.
Unreal.
You know what? A small thing before we jump into it. I like the 15-minute game difference because you can flick between the games. So you could I was flicking between Essendon, Sydney, and Adelaide Port.
Yeah.
So when it was quarter time, flick game.
Flick over.
Watch 15 minutes, flick back. And you can do that. Why marry them up so they start at the exact same time and you have to pick which game? It was so good if the showdown was better because you could flick over at the end and watch the last 15 minutes of Showdown. But I don't know. They do weird stuff.
To be. This is in America we have this. Like NFL Network has like a gameplay where you can put like two games
like Red Zone
split screen next to each other, right?
Yeah.
And you can watch essentially two games at once.
You can do that on KO.
Okay.
So, I don't know. If KO wants to sponsor it, we'll tell them all about it.
We'll be huge sponsors of such an enticing thing you can do on KO. But one of the big things, obviously, we talked at the beginning, Buddy subbed out, calf injury, and now is retired. Props to the big man, an incredible career, as we mentioned off the top. Going to love actually to see what he does post-career.
Yeah, 100%.
Coaching or something else. Like I'm very excited for what the future holds for this man.
It's actually interesting to be like, I think Jordan Lewis was saying that he's a full footy nuffy, like loves footy and wants to get into coaching. So imagine having that knowledge at your club, just being like, go here, stand there, take this. Like it would be great. It would be kind of hard for him to describe to players just
his
do what I do.
experience. Yeah.
Like,
Just go out
just
there,
take
just
7
go.
bounces on the wing, kick it on your left, on the full, through the goals. Like,
No biggie.
why wouldn't you just do that? But no, it would be invaluable. Yeah, I've said invaluable twice. Is that an
Yeah,
actual
it
word?
is.
Because it's thereabouts. Now, I want to talk about the Amati party, Joel Amati,
Yeah.
because I feel like
Marty Party.
they've got like replacements, ready-made replacements. They got McDonald, they got Amati, like ready to shine. I think he did well to kind of hold it up and teach these guys, Ford Craft before he left. So I think they'll be fine, leaving without Buddy. So, but it was good to see. It was almost the handing over of the baton in this game. Like Joel Amati's been pretty good in Buddy's absence previously. Like when Buddy's been missing, Joel Amati kind of steps up, and he did it again in this game, kicking 4. So that was awesome to see.
Also, another person that stepped out for Sydney, Papley, as always, tends to bob up whenever the game's on the line. Kicks a 60-meter bomb as the Swans' only goal in the fourth quarter, and that's the one that gets him over the line to win this game. So Pap shows up in the in the time they need him, as he always does and seems to. Definitely hyped up about that. And then from Essendon's side, we had Langford kicked 5. What's Langford's?
Vroom, vroom.
Ford.
Yeah,
Ford F-150. Langford F-150. Kicked 5 for the Bombers. And Peter Wright, old 2-meter Peter, kicks 4.
I was thinking of a nickname. I want to give you a nickname. I want to put this on the radar.
For 2-meter Peter.
For 2-meter Peter. I know that he's got a nickname, and it just so happens to be 2-meter Peter. Well, I want to, in Aussie fashion, give a nickname based off his nickname.
Ooh.
2-meaty Petey.
2-meaty Petey.
Like TOOMEATY PETEY.
Do you consider him meaty? Is that a word you
just 2-meaty Petey, big boy. 2-meaty Petey.
I think of a big boy and I think of like Shane Mumford. That's a meaty human.
Peter Wright's a big
He's
fella.
big, but Shane's like Sean Darcy, meaty human.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
2-meaty Darcy.
This is getting a bit sexual. Okay, well, it's just weird. But we will say this. Bombers have unfortunately lost 5 of the last 6, but there is some positive news for all the Bombers fans out there. They're playing West Coast and North next before they play GWS in Collingwood. So they get essentially 2 of the bottom teams that are coming up to be able to get a bit of momentum and then go and play some of the top 8 teams. So, they're not out of it. But it was a win that they probably are looking back on. If we were able to just kick 1 more goal, we might be in a better position to be able to make finals. So it is what it is at the end of the day. But we'll move on to the next one, the big showdown, the big Adelaide showdown, Port Adelaide versus Adelaide. And this one was interesting.
Biggest news story of the weekend, Mace. We can't go past it.
It's very interesting.
Aliir and Lockie Jones clashing heads. And that was just the beginning of it because for all money, they both went kind of limp and it looked like an obvious case of concussion and, the protocols take their effect and you think you'd go from there.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of questions that have been raised over the last 24 or 48 hours about how it's been handled, which has been very interesting.
Yeah. And, obviously touchy situations and you can never question the doctors in these circumstances because we don't know the information.
Yep.
So out of that, I would just say one obvious statement, not a good look. Just not a good look. If you're, Aliir's family sitting at home, you'd be wondering why your boy's out there still playing 6 minutes after he's just been limp on the ground for an extended period of time. Lockie Jones went through the SCAT test.
Yeah.
Passed.
Yeah.
Got subbed out with a migraine.
Signs of concussion, so you do the right thing.
It is a sign of concussion, right?
You take him out of the game.
It is a sign of concussion, but to say that it was just a migraine and it was separate, bit weird. And then Aliir obviously went out 6 minutes later after they, saw the vision and said, nothing to see. It's very interesting. I wouldn't say much more about it outside of that. I would say there has been a few occasions where something similar has happened to this across the league. And then the doctors get thrown into this awkward situation where they're questioned when, the general public doesn't know the information, but they want to know the information.
Yeah. They want to make sure the players are all right.
If there's a reason behind it, fine. Tell us the reason. We'll get around it. AFL issued a please explain to Port Adelaide. And the latest update is that both Aliir and Lockie Jones will now be out with concussion protocols. So I don't know if that's, just the AFL going like, look, on visuals alone, no, these boys aren't playing. And that's what I think the thing is. Obviously, the AFL in years to come are going to be the ones that have to answer to these situations.
Yeah, be very cautious from here on out.
So I think the AFL should take it into their own hands, these types of situations. Now, something that's very similar is in the NRL, where they'll see a head knock or a big tackle, and they will review it off the field, a governing body, and go like, nah, take that bloke off. They'll stop the game and take that player off the field. Now, I think something similar in the AFL would be great.
So you're saying essentially an independent person from both the teams that is a AFL representative deciding whether or not the concussion protocol needs to be done.
Yeah, just to have a look at it. Just to have a look at it. Then it takes any of these like questions out of, the hands of like, you don't have the public going like, oh, what's the doctors doing? Yeah. What are their mindsets? What are their thoughts? What are the processes? You got the awkward like Kenny Hinkley press conference afterwards where he's like, look, I don't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
But,
exactly
I was talking to Aaliyah and he seemed fine after the game. Like all of this stuff just creates more gray area and mystery and a cloud over the whole situation. We all want the players' best interest. Like we all want, to see these players retire and go on and live happy, healthy lives after footy. So I think it should just be, almost like the third umpire or whatever, who's sitting up in the score review, sitting up in the hub. You have like an official up there going like, nah, I didn't like the look of that. That was a head clash, or that was a heavy bump, heavy tackle.
Yeah, I mean, like you gotta think like umpires would have a doctor or something along those lines. So to be able to have that person maybe as the AFL's independent decider around concussion protocols for the day might be an option. I don't know. But I do like the way NRL does it. It's pretty interesting that they have someone that's separate to both teams that makes that official decision and takes it out of the hands of the club doctors where, you can maybe try to, fluff a bit of a lie whenever you're concussed or something like that, try to get back on the field. But if you're talking to an AFL representative, they're going to be extremely conservative around the whole thing where it's chances are more likely than not you're going to get pulled off the field.
Because they would definitely, like on the other side, they would go like, oh, rather, not risk it, rather not like take any chances or whatever. And like Ken Hinkley said after the game that, everyone is wanting the player's safety to be paramount and number one. And it's just, these things are going to evolve over time.
But, I mean, it's been incredible, like difference between 10 years ago and now, and it's heading in the right direction. It 100% is.
Do you remember? I don't know. It's on every big hit compilation ever. Jordan Lewis going back with the flight through the middle and getting shit mixed, to use a Jeremy Howe saying, and he ran back out on the field and played out the game. It's like things like that. It's like
that would never happen.
It's like Diesel Williams, one of the all-time great AFL players that can't remember playing in finals, can't remember his wedding day, can't remember, the birth of his children and stuff because of issues like this that he just played through because it was a different time, different era. So we're getting to where we need to get to. And it's just like things like this, every time an issue arises and it's like, oh, didn't like the look of that. What can we put in place to fix that issue?
Prevent that from happening again. Well, another thing that did come out of this was Tex kicked 7. He's still on his shit. Texas out there. So what's Texas Walker Ranger? Is that it?
He's nuts. Wow. He's nuts. And I love the Adelaide Fords because they can kick bombs and they just go dead straight.
He had a chance to kick actually 8 and he gave one off.
For a big truck of a man, like he's you wouldn't be like, he wouldn't be top scoring in the agility test, you wouldn't imagine. But he kicks these like snaps and like in traffic goals.
Is insane.
He knows where they are.
Him and Charlie Curnow, 6 goals separate them two for the Coleman race at the moment. So it's going to be an interesting little run home for them too. And who knows who's going to win in the end. But I want to do a little shout out. There's a man that debuted for Adelaide who used to play Collingwood. Mark Keane, the Irishman. Old Irishman.
Oh my God, that was shocking.
Terrible. He actually played against Charlie Dixon. Actually did pretty well. So
he did really well.
Yeah, shout out to him in a debut against one of the best forwards in the league. Pretty amazing. Mark Keane and myself, we've had a few biffs over the years, right? He's a bit of a player that gets under your skin.
So he would play on you in like training and like intra-clubs and things like that.
Yeah. Every once in a while we line up against each other, and he'd give you the little, what do you call it? The when you brush someone up against the ears, what do you call it?
He'd punch you in the head.
He'd punch you in the head, essentially. Yeah, he'd go for a mark, and he'd make sure he'd clip you in the ears.
Yeah.
Ear
massage.
Ear massage. That's what I'm thinking of, Brayden. Well done. He'd give you an ear massage every once in a while, and yeah, we had to be broken up a few times. It's all in the, it is what it is. It's all training. You get a bit hyped up and whatnot. But he was a bit of a person that would just get into you. One of those people.
Was it white line fever? Like, was he just chill off and then like white line fever?
A little bit.
Just I think intense all the time.
He did like hurling though back in Ireland, so it's a bit of an aggressive sport.
I think how like there's a fascination of like when people discover AFL overseas and they watch like the highlights tapes and stuff. When I went to Ireland and I saw hurling for the first time, I was fascinated because all I saw was like Gaelic football was like, the number one. And that's okay. Like that's fine. It's kind of just a shitter version of what we have. But
jeez, Brayden.
But
not getting any Irish fans today, I'll tell you that.
Hurling is where it's at. That's why I'm like,
hurling can like bash people with a stick. It's wild.
Yeah, let's just run around with big sticks and just club the shit out of each other. I reckon they're the tough people. Yeah, and they're the people that I want on my side if I'm going to go to town with any Irish people. I got the hurling people on my side because you can't even tackle from behind in Gaelic football. Come on, get some. I want to put this on the radar.
Yeah, what do you got?
Jason Horne-Francis, love him. He's a jet.
Socks up. Big fan of the socks up.
Socks up. He's super quick. I didn't expect that. Like I thought, Nathan Buckley-esque power, not speed. But he's quick and he does seem to get a lot of these like dropping at the knees, duck the head kind of high free kicks, which you do get when you're a ball-winning bull kind of player.
Yeah.
But I don't know. In the moment watching the game, it stuck in my head that it was like Jack Ginnivan started getting a lot of those early. And then as soon as it became a talking point, because one of our friends, Kane Corns, brought it up on radio every single day, which he won't do with Jason Horne-Francis, it became a talking point. And we all know as soon as something becomes a talking point, it becomes a focus. So when it becomes a focus, they start to clamp down. Yeah. Now I'm predicting this will start to happen to Jason Horne-Francis.
Pull the crystal ball out. There we go.
So I feel like if it becomes a talking point, he'll stop getting some of those free kicks, which will, cut 4 or 5 possessions off his game. That's a big difference when you get that 15 to 20 range.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just see it.
Well, time will tell, Brayden. Time will tell. We'll all be waiting to see if you've predicted the future.
We've had a good prediction, like a few predictions on this podcast.
We have. I mean, the Giants is the big one you're hanging on to.
So I say Giants, and then you were like Gold Coast. So maybe it's just me.
Yeah. Wowza. All right. Well, we'll get into the next game before you keep going on that one. We got Hawthorn, St. Kilda. This is an interesting one. St. Kilda came out the blocks hot. Oh, they were hot. And then Hawthorn had a little bit of a spray from their head coach at quarter time. Old Mitchell came out and said, boys, this is not good enough. We need to pick this shit up. And they responded. They came back and they had a bit of a run, and it was 11 points of difference at 3/4 time. So you can say that it definitely worked. St. Kilda was able to hold on the end, but Hawthorn, as always, and we keep saying this, showed up, gave a valiant effort. Unfortunately, was not on the winning side of it. But people like Luke Bruce kicked 6 goals. So Bruce. But yeah, St. Kilda's got a run home of Carlton, Richmond, Geelong, and Brisbane. So St. Kilda's going to have a rough 4 games coming up. That's for sure. So this one was a good win for them in a tough little patch coming up of games. So that was a big thing. Another big news from that game: Zach Jones, Cooper Sharman, and Anthony Caminiti will all likely be missing next week with injuries. So
they can't get a run with these injuries.
Oh, geez, it's going to be tough. Well, I think Anthony ended up getting a suspension for hitting Sicily. So that's going to be a game for him.
I mean, who doesn't want to have a crack at Sicily? It seems like everyone wants to.
I kind of like Sicily.
No, I like him, but it's like he seems to be fighting with someone every week.
Oh, he's just the defender everyone, wants to beat, I think.
Does he ever play on you, or does he just go to the best forward?
Yeah, he probably goes to the best forward. Probably Jamie Elliott is probably who he goes to.
He's like a foot taller than him.
Yeah, well, he's got speed. He's a quick fella. But it was a big win for St. Kilda. I think they need that one in the books to continue their top 8 spot run. And they needed to make sure they got that W over the weekend.
Any team would struggle against those 4 in the run home.
No doubt. Now, the next one we'll go into is Richmond versus Melbourne. Now, they were down. Melbourne was down 20 on 2 occasions after halftime. So Richmond was looking at a bit of an upset here, thinking, "Oh boy, we might be able to lock in a top 8 spot up in here. Maybe." Nah, I don't know. Where are they at the moment? I think
they are. They're just out there.
Close,
they're like a game outside, which is like crazy. If they had to clinch this, it shakes things up.
Shakes it up again.
Even more, especially with Melbourne's position in the top 4. But, a very unlikely savior. Okay.
Who do we got?
We got Harry Petty.
Oh.
Now, he kicked 6. Defender
big 6.
turned forward, which I don't know if you want to, some of these you don't. When it happens for the first time, a team has to panic and try to figure it out on the run. Now, next week, if they try to pull the same string, is it going to get the same result? Time will tell. I was thinking Tom Petty for he's kicked 6, so he's got his 5.
Songs do we have? Tom Petty is...
Yeah, now my one was, "'Cause I'm free."
Oh, what a classic.
Bum, 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 free falling. What do you reckon?
Oh. Well,
I gave it everything, so you got to give it everything.
That's the one I've got. That's all I've got. I don't know any more of the words. I'm trying to think of it. I'm just frozen in the moment. You can stand my crowd because I won't back down.
That's the one.
That's it. I know a whole 6 words of that song, everyone.
Well, good work, Harrison Petty. 6, then Roy and see.
Another one that sounds like Boo.
Yeah, that's where they go Roo, even though it's Roy. And then your boy Pickett kicked 2 to really, put it away.
And Melksham got 4 also.
Melksham is a handy goal kicker.
He is.
He likes kicking them from the corner. Couple from the corner, and he's just a very handy player to have in your team now. Maxi Gawn turns it on as he always does. I reckon he's number 1 again, number 1 ruck in the AFL.
Interesting, isn't it?
Who else?
Sean Darcy be up there if he's playing.
Feel
obviously
like
Tim English is the statistics.
You can tell me more about it, but how important is the get out kick? Because I feel like the bailout kick and have Max going up the line, he outmarks a pack more often than not.
It's a 100-meter difference in a game. You got to think, he takes that mark, that's 50 meters. Then he kicks it along, that's another 50 meters. So a 100-meter difference, essentially going from the goal square to forward 50.
It's crazy. I don't know how he does it, because he doesn't really, there's no run and jump about it or leap or anything. He just stands there and jumps straight up and just plucks it.
He reads the ball really well. When he just knows, he's got that sense of when to launch really well, and he can work you under. He does different things. He's not a one-stop shop kind of player. So he's definitely one of those you have to look out to, and you can't just let him go roaming on his own, because he's got a really good tank on him. People don't realize it, but he can run really well and cover the ground really well. And he puts himself in a prime position early and is able to get to a contest early to be able to mark the ball.
And it's actually crazy that he has such a tank, given that everyone knows that he used to just punch darts.
I don't think he does that anymore. He's got kids now, Brayden.
That's just the best, isn't it? Could you imagine just like swinging into Coles, picking up a pack on the way to training? It's a different time.
It's a different world nowadays. But Dusty kicked 3 also, and Melbourne finished off the game with kicking the last 6 goals. So they came home strong, got the win over Richmond. An important game for them in the top 4 standings.
I think the last couple of weeks has really changed up this whole 2-horse race thing that you wouldn't have been really buying into, because you're one of the 2 horses, mate. But I feel like no one in the top 8 would be scared of another team in the top 8, Port won't get beaten. They've won 13 in a row, and then they come out and they lose the next 2, and you're like, wow, okay, they can be beaten. Same with Collingwood. Same with, well, maybe not the Giants, but time will tell, mate.
Time will tell. We'll go into the last game before the Collingwood game. This one out in the West. Oh, it was a big one we were looking forward to. The West Coast Eagles playing at North Melbourne at Optus Oval. And West Coast gets the W. 16-game drought is over, Brayden. They win in the West in front of 38,000 fans. Shout out to the fans that came. That is absolute fandom through thick and thin.
Now, I reckon most of those would probably be North fans, but maybe a few West Coast fans showed up. Now, I was going into this one, my expectations were, if West Coast lose to North at home, bad. Terrible for West Coast. They're way behind. They're going to take years to kind of dig themselves out of this thing. Yep. If North go over there and get pumped by West Coast, bad. So this was probably the best kind of case result. Close game between these two.
Yep.
And, West Coast gets the win at home, which you probably expect in the end. But it didn't look good early. 38-7 before North really got in the car and turned the key on and started revving the thing up, because it didn't look like much was going to happen there for a bit. And then it turned into a bit of a barn burner. Yeah. They're going to have to call the fire brigade.
They're both on 20 premiership points at the moment. Like I said, North has the lead in percentage though. And North did come back after 32 points down at three-quarter time to almost win, which is an effort. We talk about week in, week out, talked about with Hawthorn, these teams that, are quote unquote building, as they say. Yeah, it was a big game for North. Like, this is the last time they'll have their coach. Essentially, Clarko is coming back on Monday. I
thought something terrible happened.
No. Well, they got the interim coach, obviously, and he's taken over. He's had, I think it was like 10 losses in a row, unfortunately, but well, this is just facts, Brayden. Facts. I'm a big fan of him, but and Clarko comes back on Monday, so that'll be a big, interesting little, I guess, change at the club to have him back at the helm.
Interesting to see, if they get another little sugar hit to be like, oh, we got Clarko back last, couple of rounds, see how we go.
Last time I remember Clarko with North Melbourne, he was jumping up and down on the sideline.
Yeah, he was pumped.
Remember that? At the very beginning of the season.
He was very pumped. Now, hopefully West Coast, as they wrap up this season, can show just a bit of something to entice these players to stay. They don't want to see, Tom Barras, there's been a bit of talk about him maybe departing the club at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I don't think they could afford to lose a key defender
figure.
When you got
key figure at that
they
club
got a few of these older boys, wrapping up their careers, and Oscar Allen. I would be selling the farm to keep that guy.
Throwing everything at him.
he's kicking bags when they're
playing both sides of the ground.
When they're down the bottom.
I think he's played every position this year for that club.
It's crazy. So, you'd have to throw the farm at him because he's all you got at this point in time.
There's other good players there, but he's definitely being the standout at the moment, and he's a hell of a player that's really blossomed since Kennedy's retired. So it's been great seeing him killing it over there.
If you had to say a couple cliches, what do you want? What do you want from the boys? 4-quarter effort. Just
4-quarter effort.
Just run it out
from West Coast.
Yeah. Just what do we want?
Take it minute by minute. 4-quarter effort, boys. And, if we stick to our game plan, we stick to our structure, everyone plays their role, we'll get the win.
Let's win the quarter, boys. Win the quarter.
Win the quarter. That's it. All right, we'll get into the last one. Obviously, the Friday night clash between the arch rivals Collingwood and Carlton. And Curnow kicks 6. He kicked 6 and he's leading the Coleman still up there and going really well. And I think people had question marks over him whenever if he could kick that many goals again, because obviously he's playing West Coast and had kicked 10, I think, once and kicked 9 again. And over the weekend, he kicked 6. So
he shut down the haters.
Shut down the haters right away.
To a degree. Like, it's still true that he kicked 19 against West Coast, but to kick 6 against Collingwood, massive. And I looked at this as you want to play to your strengths, right? Which your strength scoring from the back line. So you don't want to really, there's always a balance, it would seem, that it's like, do we hard shut down one of these key forwards, or do we let our guys, run off and kind of make plays from the back line? And I feel like sometimes it can result in players like Curnow kicking 6 because, you want to play to your strengths. And I feel like that's a very, positive mindset for footy. So I feel like something like this can happen every now and then. And when it's, the player, the caliber of Curnow, who's been on fire since Harry went out, and there's just a dynamic there. And he got asked after the game, what do you think of the whole situation? But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out as they move forward. 86,000. You knocked over that million mark and you're storming on. I think you got like 3 of the 4 biggest games this year or something. So it's crazy. They just keep showing up. Now let's get into the game. I don't want it to be somber because I feel like we can take some stuff out of this. I had so many Collingwood fans in my mentions just burning it down.
Going it down. I stayed off the socials for the weekend, bro. And I actually ducked out of here. I went to Sydney over the weekend.
Went to Sydney?
Yeah, I booked a flight at 12:30 on Friday night.
I saw you
for 8 a.m.
Right after that guy approached your table.
Yeah, after the table, I go, I think it's about fucking time for me to get out of here.
I need to be exactly 1 state away from this man. It's like for both of our sakes.
It was rough.
Now, one thing that came out of the game, a bit of a swing man. We talk about Harry Petty, free falling. Well, Jeremy Howe, don't know if you heard of him, but he used to be a forward for Melbourne, came in, and now he's playing forward for Collingwood. Kicked 3 in a quarter from everywhere. He just looked in a team that was just riddled with inaccuracies on the night. Jeremy Howe just went up forward and dead-eyed Dick, one of our brothers. He just went forward and snagged 3. Good to see.
Snagged 3 all in the fourth quarter. And then we had a big one. Jamie Elliott, that hanger he took. Oh, good Lord.
Undersold. And you know what?
Do you reckon that'll be a mark of the year?
No.
No.
And I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because when they butcher the commentary, it never gets marked.
Whenever Leon was in it on here, and we talked about it, whenever we had goal of the year, it just looked like they didn't even know he was kicking a goal on the commentary.
And that was like Bruce as well. And he's like, this could be a goal. It is a goal. It's like, wow. But this was worse. This was, they're like, oh, Markov.
What? I didn't see that.
Because he's got the same color boots as Markov. And I'm like, why is Markov streaming outside? 50 going.
Launching onto people's backs.
Oh, but, it was a good mark.
It was a phenomenal mark.
It was a great mark. Very reminiscent of a few of his marks. I think he took one over at like Port Adelaide. I think he might have took one against the Gold Coast. Very similar vein. He gets right up and then he gets the little pop.
Gets a little pop off the shoulders.
Just
very
to
good
jump up there. Now, unfortunately, and I'm going to put him in it here, he was very inaccurate on the night, which he's been clutched for the last 3-4 weeks, and he wasn't the only one. It was probably definitely the biggest difference in the game. I feel like you were winning like a lot of key stats and just couldn't get it done on the board, which hasn't been your problem all year. It's kind of been what's been saving you in a few occasions where you'll just be like insanely accurate. And it even came out last quarter where it's like, oh, they're on again. But instead of kicking the first 2 goals, you kicked the first 2 points, and it was kind of, a bit of a wash from there. But there was a moment from you before you got subbed out, which we'll talk about, where you checked the back of someone's jumper just to figure out who they were. Was that what was going on, or were you just?
Right, we're just gonna move on.
Helping them with their GPS. It was like, mate, your GPS is a bit
off. It's not beeping.
Let me fix that up for you. Let's jump into this sub because you were subbed out of the game. Now, on the surface, it kind of looked like, it happened when everything moved around. So Howe went forward from defense, a bit of speed off the back line. I guess it was, Fly kind of moving the magnets, and you were kind of the casualty of that. It showed you on the bench. You looked maybe a little miffed. I won't put any words in your mouth, but how are you feeling on the night?
Obviously not the best game I've ever had in my life. These things do happen, Braden. I wish I'd played, the best game every single game, but these things do happen. And I was subbed under the understanding probably obviously not playing the best game, having the biggest impact. So they wanted to move a few things around. And, as a player, you always want to, you want to back yourself in. Like you want to be out there trying to help the team win. So obviously it's not the greatest news whenever someone comes and says you're subbed. So I had a bit of a walk down the sideline just to, goose fraba a bit. Yeah. And then went to the back and then sat there and, just, watched the rest of the game. So, it wasn't the greatest day of my life. I will say that. But like I said, these things happen, and you're not always going to be playing your best footy every single game. And you just got to, go back into the lab, as they say, and just keep trying to get better, I think is the way to put it. But it was a frustrating night, to say the least. And I think it was probably, from what everyone keeps telling me, it was very well shown on my face.
And that's what I don't want to get into it like it's a funeral. Like you were subbed out of the game. It's not that crazy to happen. Someone's got to get subbed out every single week, and it just so happened to be you this week.
Yeah, like I said, these things happen.
You've had bigger adversity.
I've had bigger adversities in my life, believe me. I've been through plenty of back. But it was good. I think after the game, obviously a bit frustrated, but I think whenever you're in these moments in life where you maybe not having the best day or wherever it is, like after the game, had 4 amazing friends and we just sat down, had dinner together, and it was just brought me back to reality of just like the important things in life, and life does go on. And was fortunate enough, like I said, to just get out of town for a little bit, spend some time in Sydney, refresh and kind of reset, and be able to look forward to this week. So it's Yeah, like I said, these things, it's all part of the journey. You got to look at probably the overall thing rather than just the time being, and just look forward to the next opportunity.
And I think it was a bit of doom and gloom from everything. When you lose to Carlton, it's not just a loss; it's a loss to the arch rival. So, yeah, I think everyone needs to take a breath and calm down because they were calling for heads everywhere. If they took every head that was suggested on Twitter over the weekend, you'd be running out there with Fly and maybe a couple of coaches and a couple of VFL players and, see how it goes. But it's not that bad. You have one loss. You've had a number of wins this season. You're still sitting on top of the ladder. So we reset and we go again, and it's against Hawthorn next week. Now, that'll be a humdinger, seeing what they did on the weekend, coming up the loss to St Kilda. But hopefully, get the dub, get the train back on the tracks, and cruise back into finals, mate.
Well, that's it. Well, we won't end on a depressing note. We will end on a positive note, Braden, and we're going to start a little new segment here at the Mason Cox Show. We're going to do a bit of what we're looking forward to. I think it's a bit of positivity, and the podcast is always at prime. So we're going to ask you exactly what you're looking forward to this week and what people should be enjoying.
I like this. A bit of positivity. Well, I am looking forward to getting out of this jumper now because I just spilled my drink all down.
Beer all over yourself, mate. It's Monday night, Braden's weekend.
Oh, yeah. We don't get weekends. The weeks don't end, mate. So they just roll one into another. Now, that's part of what my looking forward to is. I'm actually working on quite a big project at the moment, which I'm kind of keeping on the DL. But I've been... as I say this, my eyelids are twitching because
you haven't had any sleep.
I'm running on about 4 hours a night.
Your hands are full of plaster.
Yeah, I got plaster on my hands
for everyone out there,
which is it kind of looks weird. Glue, plaster,
Is this one of those things like the merch? We're gonna tease on it for about 3 months.
Yeah.
By the way, merch is out. Everyone, check it out. Yeah, I actually saw someone sent me a photo the other day of an older lady filling up her petrol tank with our shirt on. And I was just like, she said she went up to him and was like, she was so excited. Just a happy, lovely lady. I'm sure she might be listening now. And I just want to say a massive shout out. You're an absolute legend. And I hope you filled that thing up and had a fantastic day.
Oh, it's the best. There's been like watch parties and stuff, but like people are all like fully decked out in our merch.
Nah, seriously, amazing community.
What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the Women's World Cup. Australia's playing right now. By the time this actually comes out, Australia will either have won or lost against Canada.
Give us both reactions. Oh, Australia won, Mace.
Woo!
Oh no, Canada. Canada will beat us, Mace.
Fuck!
Oh, fucking Canada.
Oh, Canada. And they'll probably shake our hand, be so nice and buy us sweets after. Pricks.
Big win, eh?
Big win, eh? But no, I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully Sam Kerr gets to play and makes an impact. But we won't know once this comes out. Everyone will obviously know. But tonight we'll be looking at it, which will be exciting. So we're predicting the future.
Yeah.
But that is what we're looking forward to, and we're also looking forward to next week whenever we have another wrap up. But that is it for this episode, everyone. Thank you so much for listening in. Like we said before, the merch is out. Thank you so much to the community for pitching in and just being, absolute legends and
getting around us. I want to see if anyone's got the new grey hoodie because that was a special request. I was like, I got to get one of these grey. I'm actually wearing a non-merch grey hoodie with you right now. But the same, but I got to get one.
Well, there's the grey hoodies coming out, and there's actually some more stuff that's in the pipeline. So look out for it. But you can check it all out. It's on the socials, under the bio and everything else. But massive, massive thank you for listening, for being a part of this, for telling your friends and everything else. It's absolute love from us to you, and we do see it and we do appreciate it. So thank you so much.
Give us a rating. I would love to get to 1,000 ratings on Spotify.
Give us a 5-star rating. You forgot the details of that.
If you want to, we're not no gun to head. We're just whatever you feel like.
Well, that's Braden's ask for the week, everyone. But thanks so much for tuning in. We will talk to you next week after a big weekend of footy ahead of us. Until then, have an amazing week, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah.
See ya.